We seekers are on a quest to discover truth and meaning. Sometimes we think we've found it, wrapped up, glimmering with newness, straight off of the intellectual assembly line, all the answers right here for us and others, if they'd only listen. But truth has a way of coming in disguise, sometimes wearing rags and sometimes finery, but so often cloaked from our own immediate sight, and sometimes that which we have rejected, that which we have let go of or decided was only for others, but not us, can be our teachers. Let our time of worship be an acknowledgement of the never-ending journey towards truth and meaning, and our appreciation of those we learn from along the way.
With a passion for discerning. hands. I'm happy to see everyone. Welcome, welcome. So how many of us, anywhere, have already started school? Okay, yeah. It's a little late for that, right? Okay. It's September 17th. So, okay. Anyone in the room, not just here on the rug, who has memories of their first day of school? However you interpret that, your first day ever, any grade, any kind of school. Show of hands, you remember something, a story about the first day? Yeah? Okay, great. So I wanted to ask, what were some things that made you feel really welcome when you were new to school, new to a class, new to any kind of a school? Were there fun pictures on the walls? Did you do fun activities for adults? Was there some sort of icebreaker activity at a training that you went to? So feel free to shout out anything that you really liked that made you feel welcome on your first day in a new learning environment. Yes?
In fourth grade when I was in school that I did something fun with my teacher.
Cool. So in fourth grade, you did something fun with your teacher. That being at ease and having fun, it makes you feel welcome, right? Anyone else? Things in...
I'm not talking about anything, but I'm very close to her because I'm in first.
Okay. You're in first grade. Okay, cool. So it's closer. Okay, great. Thanks, Rainey. Anybody else? Anybody from maybe whose memories have to cast a little further back to a fun, welcoming thing that ever happened? Oh, come on. A fight in a new school, that's welcoming. Wow, okay. I thought there might be more. No one has welcome. Yes, Emily. Someone let you sit at the lunch table. Yes, when you are in a new place, and yes. They handed out. Oh, cool. So so the first day of third grade, your teacher gave you a fun thing to do, like an activity to do. That was last year. Okay. More fourth graders. I see the fourth grade represent. Awesome. Great. Glad you're here. Okay. Well, so hopefully maybe it'll occur to you later at times you were made to feel welcome in a learning environment. I remember my first seminary class, and I'm picking this because it was only 6 years ago. When I walked into that class, there was music playing, and there was like a dance party happening before we even sat down. And then we were sorted into tables, and these were 1 week intensive classes where we did remote work the rest of the semester. We were going to work with the group of people at our table the whole week, and the professors invited us to make like a little altar of important things to us in this. It was seminary class, so an altar is not outside of the realm of possibility. That as we worked together, we were to each bring in objects that were really important to us, and we centered on those during the class. So starting with a shared activity or a fun thing, and then moving into a group that would build on the learning that we shared during the class, that made me feel welcome and ready to learn. And it was my first class, so I was nervous about how that would go. So, teachers are pretty magical, right? I think we can agree. Teachers are pretty awesome. They can make you feel welcome and ready even when you're not sure you are. It's pretty great. So we're excited to have our religious education classes kind of begin this week. Our schedule is a little off, as you know, because we haven't had a professional religious educator since last summer. So I want to, first of all, today, shout out our amazing RE committee, Mary here and others around, who have made sure we had programming for the whole last year. It's been since last summer that we have not had a professional responsible for the classes that our kids go to. So that is not to say that they have been anything less than awesome in their quality, just that they are being taken on. So thank you. And to everyone who's teaching, our committee and our teachers, and everybody who's volunteering to help do this, we still need you. And if you're interested, we need more of you. But this week, I'm also excited to tell you that, and there'll be an official announcement going out to the congregation, but we have hired a new director of lifespan religious education. For those of you, yay, who did not get the memo or any of the memos along the way, or may just not know this, we are sharing a full-time DLRE with Lancaster. So we have, this woman's name is Elizabeth Galron, and she's gonna start with us this week. And I look forward to introducing her to you all, both up here and in the email this week. So we're going to have 20 hours a week Elizabeth's with us, 20 hours a week Elizabeth is with Lancaster. This allows us to have a full-time person when neither one of us would have funded a full-time position without. So we're really excited about this collaboration, and we want to make Elizabeth feel super welcome when she does get here. Like I said, introduction email later this week. So for everybody who is about to go to class, I want you to think about what it feels like to feel ready. And I want you to think about how good it feels when you're made to feel welcome. So your teachers are going to make you feel welcome. I want you to make them feel welcome, that you're ready to learn. And when Elizabeth gets here, we'll make her feel welcome too, okay? Thank you. We're going to sing y'all out.
Our reading this morning is an excerpt from The Courage to Teach, Exploring the Inner Landscape of a Teacher's Life by Parker J. Palmer. Teaching, like any truly human activity, emerges from one's inwardness, for better or worse. As I teach, I project the condition of my soul onto my students, my subject, and our way of being together. The entanglements I experience in the classrooms are often no more or less than the convolutions of my inner life. Viewed from this angle, teaching holds a mirror to the soul. If I am willing to look in that mirror and not run from what I see, I have a chance to gain self-knowledge, and knowing myself is as crucial to good teaching as knowing my students and my subject. In fact, knowing my students and my subject depends heavily on my self-knowledge. When I do not know myself, I cannot know who my students are. I will see them through a glass darkly, in the shadows of my unexamined life. And when I cannot see them clearly, I cannot teach them well. When I do not know myself, I cannot know my subject, not at the deepest levels of embodiment, personal meaning. I will know it only abstractly from a distance, a conjury of concepts as far removed from the world as I am from the personal truth. The work required to know thyself is neither selfish nor narcissistic. Whatever self-knowledge we attain as teachers will serve our students and our scholarship well. Good teaching requires self-knowledge. It is a secret hidden in plain sight.
When I think of stories of my favorite teachers, I feel blessed and lucky to be able to say there's honestly too many to recount. So I'm going to share a short one that does not reflect all of that well on me because it sticks out in my memory as being a place for deep reflection on the role and the calling of teaching. In my senior year in high school, I signed up for calculus. I'd never had any particular problem with math before, but calculus was another story. I didn't get it, and worse, I didn't really try to get it. When it wasn't easy, as soon as it got hard, I checked out. Part of this was the fact that it was my senior year and that I was already partially checked out of the whole process, and that I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with my life, but I was pretty sure it wasn't going to require calculus. Instead, I tried to get my teacher to let me be a student aide for the art teacher during that period. And that meant she had to let me drop the class. Now, I had an existing relationship with my calculus teacher because she was the faculty sponsor of the school's It's Academic team, of which I was a member. She knew I was smart. She could certainly see much more of my potential than I was able to. And she did not want to let me go be an art aide. At one point, she asked me to step in the hallway to have a discussion with me about this. So I'm not going to sugarcoat this. I was kind of a jerk to her. I dismissed her and her care and concern and her ability to see what I could not. I dismissed those inherent wonderful things about her instead of dismissing calculus, which is the thing I should have been dismissing, right? Not her. She was in tears during this conversation. I'm not proud of this. She did not let me transfer. She did not let me drop the class. I failed calculus by virtue of doing nothing for the rest of the year. Sound moral victory? No. Could I argue that she really should have just let me drop her class so she could give her attention to her Of course, and I did argue that for years. But that is beside the point. The point is how very much she cared about my success. She cared so much about who I was and who I had the potential to become, and I brushed her off. Because at 17, I was simply not emotionally aware enough to understand why this was so important to her. Teachers care so much. They kind of have to keep doing that job, to keep answering that call, even in the face of deeply challenging times for teachers, especially in every level of public education in this country. And of course, as we celebrate a little late, but we are still pretty close to the start of the school year and the start of the religious education for the year and the hiring of our new shared director of lifespan religious education, we're thinking a lot about classroom teaching specifically. But in our chalice lighting today, thank you, Craig, for your wonderful readings. In the chalice lighting today, the Reverend Jason Cook reminds us to consider the many ways we are taught. Let our time of worship be an acknowledgement of the never-ending journey toward truth and meaning, and our appreciation of those we learn from along the way. You've all heard the one about how if you give someone a fish, you feed them for a day, and if you teach them to fish, you feed them for a lifetime. Right, we know this. We know these things become cliches because they have a kernel of truth. I think that we all know that for teaching and learning and human relationships, they're a little bit more both and than is summed up in that aphorism. For instance, you could give a person a fish so they are less hungry, which makes them more able to learn and take in new information and then share the wisdom of your fishing skills. But still, there is wisdom at the heart of that saying. That's why it has lasted as long as it has. Learning enriches us in the long term throughout our lives. When and how we learn and from whom changes throughout our lives and changes from day to day. Our reading from Parker Palmer addresses those working within more formal learning institutions, our classroom teachers, and we're going to come back there soon. For now, however, I want us to spend a moment reflecting on how we can nurture a sense of curiosity for the world around us and those living within it. We can learn in many places, and we each find ourselves with many opportunities to teach on any given day as well. When we hold the door for someone whose arms are full, for instance, we are teaching in a brief moment by example. We're reinforcing good lessons that were taught to us by those who came before us. And when we give our attention to those coming after us, well, they have a lot to teach us too, just as we have a lot to teach them. Learning and teaching is absolutely not a linear chronological concept. We can learn from our elders and we can learn from those younger than us. We can teach our peers and we can be taught by them. We can wrestle with hard questions, with thorny problems, and we can make and upload a video to explain the newest dance trend. Or we can use a video chat app to have someone else show us how to put together that bookshelf. We have more ways to learn and to share knowledge than ever before. I wonder how often, though, we think and stop to consider the spiritual nature of both teaching and learning, the internal work that it requires for us to engage with it fully. To learn something new means admitting that we didn't know about it before, or we had incomplete information or incorrect information. And it can be humbling to admit when you were wrong or when you just didn't know. When I made my calculus teacher cry, I was refusing a gift that she offered me. She observed something in me that I could not see within myself. And in today's reading from Parker Palmer, we are asked to consider the vital role that self-knowledge plays in any relationship of teaching and of learning. In fact, knowing my students and my subject depends heavily on self-knowledge. When I do not know myself, I cannot know who my students are. I will see them through a glass darkly in the shadows of my unexamined life. And when I cannot see them clearly, I cannot teach them well. When I do not know myself, I cannot know my subject, not at the deepest levels of embodied personal meaning. I will know it only abstractly from a distance, a congeries of concepts as far removed from the world as I am from personal truth. I looked it up so you don't have to because I didn't know. Congeries means a disordered jumble. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right either, for that matter, but that's what it means. If you didn't already know that, we learned something together today. If I try to teach someone something I only understand in abstraction as a vague and disordered jumble, then I am denying something within myself and something within the other person. So what then, when we speak of religious education, of spiritual knowledge, of learning and teaching something that many already perceive as abstraction and as a vague and disordered jumble? This is where embodiment comes in, the practice of embodied spirituality. When we take a deep breath, when we place our feet on the floor, when we bow our heads in prayer, when we take ourselves to the meditation cushion, when we partake of a sacrament, when we light a candle or a chalice, when we move our prayer beads through our fingers, when we bless ourselves with water, when we give thanks for a meal, when we clasp hands with our neighbor, when we feel the rising despair within us at bad news, and when we feel the elation lifting our souls with joyous news, those are spiritual moments. They connect us with a sense of something larger than ourselves. Within Unitarian Universalism, we acknowledge that the free and responsible search for truth and meaning is the responsibility of each one of us, and that we have a path to deeper learning and growth when we do this together in community. What can you see within me that I cannot see within myself? What can I remind you of that you may have forgotten about yourself? We need those mirrors. We need to reflect one another, to learn, to teach, to grow. Learning and teaching must encompass a deep knowledge of the self, a readiness to admit the places where we know we have more to learn, a readiness to admit when we are not yet able to teach others, and a readiness to say yes when we know we are in a place to share knowledge that we have, to teach and to engage in expansive growth. Back to Parker Palmer. Teaching, like any truly human activity, emerges from one's inwardness, for better or for worse. As I teach, I project the condition of my soul onto my students, my subject, and our way of being together. The entanglements I experience in the classroom are often no more or less than the convolutions of my inner life. Viewed from this angle, teaching holds a mirror to the soul. If I am willing to look in that mirror and not run from what I see, I have a chance to gain self-knowledge. And knowing myself is as crucial to good teaching as knowing my students and my subject. The convolutions of my inner life. If I'd had such a phrase when I was 17, I might have been able to apply it to my calculus teacher, who, yes, saw things in me that I did not see in myself. But she also did not see me completely. This is not said to excuse my behavior. I have learned the long, hard way to treat people better than I treated her in that moment. But her lens was so focused on her own subject, and in the broader view, on a certain prescribed way of being that I, as a middle-class white student of privilege, was supposed to embody as reflected in the number of AP classes I was supposed to take, that she didn't focus on a deeper truth within herself and make her able to see me. In that instant, I would say we both had incomplete self-knowledge that blocked us from true empathy. We both refused gifts that our interaction could have offered us. Whether spiritual or practical, whether math or science or literature, whether esoteric or popular, it is good to acknowledge the wealth of the world and of each other, the wealth of knowledge, of knowing, of ways of being. And it is good when we gather in spiritual community to practice self-knowledge, to learn to be a supportive partner to those on their own paths. And it is good, so good, to learn to admit when we are wrong, when we have made a mistake, when we have projected the convolutions of our inner lives onto others. Sometimes we are learners, and sometimes we are teachers, and both are profoundly sacred roles. Let us continue to reflect on the ways we are called to growth and to change, internal and external. May we reflect our knowledge and our compassion to one another and to everyone we encounter. And may we give thanks for every teacher who brought their gifts into our lives. So may it be.
As we reflect on teaching and learning, the next hymn is from a different culture, but uses a really familiar set of pitches called the pentatonic scale. A lot of folk music uses these 5 pitches. It's an easy sing, and the words are just gorgeous. So I would invite you, as you're willing and able, to rise and join us in singing hymn number 194, Faith is a Forest. And you can focus on the words because the music is quite simple.
Deep inside, wherever
Please join us in extinguishing our chalice and your home chalices if you have lit them with using these words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
The time for our worship has come to an end. The time for our service begins. Reflect today on teaching, on learning. Look for the teachers and the chances to learn and to teach that you find each and every day. Prepare to be in learning and loving support in this learning community, and take it with you as you go into the week. So may it be.